So let's look at another example here. Again, we're solving quadratics. Again, we recognize that this is a quadratic by that little x squared term. Okay, so again, those steps that I showed you in the last example, definitely refer back to those. It doesn't deviate from that really much at all. Okay, so step 1 says get this in a standard form. Okay, so we need this to be set equal to a 0. Again, on the left-hand side, my x squared term is a positive, so I'm going to leave him alone. I'm going to shift everything to the left, okay? So I've got a I've got a negative 5x, so I'm going to add 5x. And again, match it up with its like term, so that's an x. So I'm just going to match it up with its an x. And we can kind of do the same, or 2 steps in one problem here. This is a negative 9. I'm going to add 9. Again, that's a constant, right? It doesn't have a variable next to it, so we're going to add that over. Okay, and match it up with the constant. Okay, so now we're going to clean up everything that we've got here. We didn't do anything to the x squared term. Negative 14x plus 5x says we have negative 9 of those x's, and then negative 1 plus 9 is a positive 8. Okay, so on the right hand side, notice how we have opposite terms there. So right, that kind of zeroes out, which is exactly what we want to do. We want a side of the equal sign set equal to a 0. Okay, so step 2 that we talked about, now we've got to use our little diamond. We've got to use our little x game. Okay, so I'm going to draw our x. That c, or that constant term, is going to go up. The b value, or the number that is stuck to the x, is going to go down. Really pay attention to your signs. Signs are very critical when we're dealing with factoring. One little sign error will kind of blow up your whole problem. So you really need to pay attention to that this is not just a 9, but it is a negative 9x there. Okay, so the negative 9 is going to go down. Again, your multiplication sharp, go ahead, jump in. What multiplies to get 8, but adds to get negative 9. If you don't, you can't see it, you're going to have to list out what multiplies to get you 8. Okay, we'll start with 1. 1 times 8. We know 2 times 4. 3 doesn't go into 8. 4 goes into 8, but we've already got that factor down, right? So now we look, well, what combination of these numbers can we add together to get a negative 9? Well, 2 and 4, at most can only get us to a 6. But if we notice our negatives, negative 1, negative 8. Okay? And the more you kind of do these things, the better hang of it you're going to get. The only way you can multiply 2 numbers to get a positive, but add them together to get a negative, is if you're dealing with 2 negatives there. Okay, so anytime you see the positive up and a negative down, both of our factors there, both of our terms, or whatever you want to call them, have to be a negative. So I'm going to fill them in with our diamond. Okay, so now that we understand what our factors are, we got to put them in our factored form, right? So x, one of the numbers we found to be a negative 1, so we're just going to communicate that with a minus 1. And the other factor that we found would be negative 8. So again, we're going to insinuate that, or we're going to represent that with a minus sign. And again, these are the same things. Purple and red, these are the same exact equations. This is just a sum. This is just its product, okay? We can solve this guy now. All right, so now that's set equal to a 0. We can apply our zero product property, right? Zero product property allows us to say, or take each of these terms, or parentheses here, and set them equal to a 0, right? So then I'm going to take the parentheses over here to the right and set them equal to a 0, right? Zero product property. If a product is equal to 0, one or all of its factors are 0, right? So we've got multiplication set equal to a 0. So now that we're going to set their factors equal to 0 and solve. So here it's just going to be a one-step problem. We're going to add 1 to both sides. So this is going to tell me that x is 1. Same thing here. That's a negative 8. So we're going to add 8 to both sides. 0 plus 8 is 8. So again, notice that, we talked about last video. Here are your 2 solutions. Okay, it doesn't always appear to be this case, but definitely you are searching for 2 answers. Both of these guys will make our original black equation there at the top true. X is 1 and x is 8. Again, you can double check your answers just to see if they are correct. I've got one last example for you that I'm going to post another video of. It's not mandatory that you watch it, but if you're struggling, the more examples definitely And the repetition definitely do help with this, but if you know what's going on, you're on your way, go ahead and jump into the assignment there.